Hello and welcome to Podiatry Practice Mastery. I have Dr. Tyson Franklin here, and thank you for joining the show, Tyson.
It is good to be here. Like as I mentioned before, it's nice and early in the morning, 5:30 a.m. So, and what I find funny is when some people hear that you got up at 5:30 a.m. and I go, it's the best time of the day to get stuff done. When people say, oh, I don't have enough time in the day. When I wrote my book, the first one, It's No Secret There's Money in Podiatry, and I was still working full time. I was doing everything else, but I decided to wake up at 4:30 every morning for 6 months, and I wrote from 4:30 to about 7 a.m. when everybody else woke up. So if you want to get something done, you just do it. So, but anyway, welcome. Oh, no, well, thank you. I'm so used to having people on my podcast. I welcomed you on your own show. How bad is that?
I'm just happy to have you here because I've been so impressed, and I'm so basically the focus of this podcast is going to be for maybe practitioners that haven't been in practice 10 years. And so you've been in practice how long, Tyson?
I graduated 1988.
Okay. So a few years. So
32 years ago, wow. 33 years ago this year. Yeah.
Wow. And I like to I like to ask something like, if you could go back, let's say 20 years or 25 years.
Yes.
And if you could kind of talk to your younger self, what type of conversation would you have? What have you learned the last 25 years that's really just changed your practice or changed you as a person?
The biggest thing is, and I run this program called the 12-week Podiatry Business Reboot.
Okay.
Where
I'll put links to your book and to this reboot underneath this video.
Yeah, that'd be great. And even when I do my marketing workshops, I have the same message I say to a lot of people. It's find your happy zone. What is it you really like doing in podiatry, and put as much time and attention as you can into that particular area. So I made a decision really, really early. I was sort of fortunate. There was a couple of things happened. One, anytime I saw an ulcer, it made me sick. So if I saw a pussy wound, something that smelt, I would just start dry reaching. So I always knew that side of podiatry was never going to really excite me. Mm-hmm. So if somebody rang up and said, oh, I need to make an appointment for my father, he has an ulcer, I'd go, just stop right there. I'll refer you on to somebody because I don't like doing that sort of work. So pretty early on, I knew what parts of podiatry I liked doing. So I always focused on that area. But I didn't, when I first opened up my clinic, I did what everybody else did. If you've got at least 1 foot and you're breathing, then you qualify as a patient.
We have a space
as
for
time
you.
went, yeah, as time went on, I decided to just niche it down to the stuff that I like doing. So that would be, if I could go back and talk to my younger self, I'd figure that out earlier. What do you love doing in podiatry? Do more of it. What do you not like doing in podiatry? And do less of it, or if you're in a position, just stop doing it eventually, as fast as you can.
Now, Tyson, why do you think so many people feel obliged to do everything?
I think there's two reasons. I think one group of people, they start out thinking that's what podiatrists do. We must do everything. Like you're a dentist, you must fill teeth, you must do root canal. So you just feel you must do everything. So they do that and they get in the habit of doing everything. Mm-hmm. That they just keep going that way. And then I think there's another group of people that they just feel bad by not doing it. Yeah. So one group just do it out of habit, and the other group feel they must do it.
They feel guilty, maybe.
Yeah. They feel guilty. Yeah. Like Mary can't cut a toenail, so I need to do it for her. Whereas, and like in the clinic that I had, we always had a podiatrist that did that sort of work. It's just I chose not to do it after a period of time because I felt my skills were more developed in another area. So, well, yes, I could be cutting Mary's toenails. At the same time, I could be helping this young 12-year-old kid get back on a football field.
Yeah.
So I'm going, what means more to me longevity-wise? I always knew I could get somebody to cut Mary's toenails, but I couldn't always get someone to treat this 12-year-old kid and get him back on the football field.
Yeah. That's great. That's great. And in terms of your practice has morphed, and I was listening, you have a nice, one of your podcasts, you talk about the mental component behind your transition. And that's what I find really fascinating. I don't think we don't talk anything about that in school. The mental component of of self-limiting beliefs and just thinking you can or you can't. And tell me a little bit of maybe that 12-week reboot. You talk a little bit about that in there in your 12-week reboot?
Oh, we talk a lot about it in the first week of the 12-week reboot. We talk about getting your team, finding a team or creating a team around you that has the same beliefs and values as what you do. So
Yeah.
first you need to know, what are your beliefs and values?
Mm-hmm.
You know, what is important to you? So if you're working for a podiatrist who his number one value is making money, and he puts making money before family, but your values are family come before money, can you see how there could be a clash if the two of you are working together? So if you're working for an employer who all they care about is money,
Mm-hmm.
but you want to spend time with your family and friends, and they're pushing you, oh no, I need you to work that sixth day, and you go, oh, hang on, it's my daughter's birthday, I don't
Yeah.
care, to them. So in the first week, we talk a lot about finding what your own beliefs and values are, and working out what they are. And your beliefs and values personally can be similar, but can be slightly different to your beliefs and values at work. So my wife would always say, when I was at work, the clinic and my room was like pristine. Everything had its place. I was just really, really particular about how things ran. She said, when you're at home, she said, your office looks like we've been robbed.
Hmm.
So to me, this whole perception of, say, like professionalism or perception to the patient, when they walked in the room, I believed every patient from 8:30 in the morning till 5:30 in the afternoon, your room should look as good as what it did at the beginning of the day. Every patient
Mm-hmm.
deserves the same amount of care and attention, and the clinic should always look that way.
Yeah.
At home, it's
Yeah.
not, yeah. Whereas my wife, it's slightly different, but we do have a lot of other similar values
Uh-huh.
about, quality and professionalism and all that. So in that first week, and some people who are solo practitioners think, oh, I don't have a team, so this isn't really important. But your accountant, your lawyer, the people you bank with, your sign writer,
Mm-hmm.
your suppliers, you don't realize that they are actually all part of your team.
Mm.
And if they've got completely different values, just if you've got a supplier who their number one value is just profit and they don't care about the customer, and your number one value is caring about is a high value is caring about your patients. And yes, you still want to make money. And that, I always say that to people, our focus was always on the patient. Our focus is always on creating a better business. And we knew if we looked after the patient and if I looked after my team, the money would just follow.
Yeah.
Whereas if you just focus on the money, patients don't care that you want a house at the beach. They really don't. They care that you drive a Mercedes Benz.
Yeah.
They just care about that you care about them. So that's why I talk a lot about just getting your head in the right space. But I must admit, when I first graduated, I just wanted to make money. That was, and while I was focusing on just wanting to make money, I didn't really make too much money. When my focus went to focusing on the patient and looking after the people that work with me, the money just followed.
That's awesome. And how did you make this transition? It's very interesting, this transition into kind of coaching. Is it because that is that where your real passion was because talking, you have two different podcasts that are very famous, you wrote a book. How did that come about?
The funny part is, I wanted to be a teacher. So when I was going through school, I wanted to be an art teacher. I just really enjoyed it. I loved the creative side
Yeah.
of the whole art world, but I also loved teaching people. So I feel like uh, so what happened is my brother was doing dentistry, and he said, "Oh, what are you gonna do when you finish school?" So I'm gonna be an art teacher. And he goes, "Oh, Jesus." I said, "What?" He said, "Well, I'm gonna be a wealthy dentist one day, and you're gonna be a poor art teacher." He said, "You'll be hitting me up for paint." He said, "You'll be hitting me up for money all the time. You'll be driving a Volkswagen. I'll have a Porsche, and eventually we'll stop talking. So we may as well stop now." And we had a bit of a laugh. So I saw my art teacher, said, "Out of curiosity, what sort of car do you drive?" She said, "I have a Volkswagen." Why? I went, "Oh, Jesus." So I told her the story, and she said, "Look, Tyson, you're really, really good at art." She said, "But you can do a lot of other things if that's what you want to do." So I went back and repeated my final year of grade 12, dropped art, manual arts, physical education, and I did biology, chemistry, physics, all the maths subjects
Yeah.
and English. So I had to go back, do all that, did well enough, and then got into podiatry. But I didn't realize that there's so much creativity in podiatry as well. Yeah, in making an orthotic, there's
Hmm.
so much creativity. And that's how I got into podiatry. When I repeated school and I knew my marks were going to be good enough, I could get into almost anything. A friend of mine that I went through school with from grade 1 through to grade 12 went off and did podiatry. And then he came back to the school the day I was filling in my forms on things I wanted to do. And he said, "So what are you planning on doing?" I said, "I don't know." I said, I'm thinking, my brother said, do something in the medical field because you will never be unemployed, as the pandemic has just proven. And he said, you'll always make pretty good money. I went, and back then I wasn't really focusing on money as a student. And I said, what are you doing? He said, podiatry. I went, what's that? And then he started telling me about it. He said, we make these things called orthotics. They're going to use. He said, in fact, you would be so good at them because just your whole art background. That got me. That's what actually got me excited about podiatry, was the making of an insert, which is why I eventually had our own milling machine set up, and we used to make our own, and loved designing things. I loved when a patient came in and needed an adjustment or needed something added. I actually really enjoyed it. I'd go inside. We go, oh, that's good.
It sparked joy.
Because I could get on the grinder and I could change the shape of the orthotic. So it was sort of like, I was like doing my art stuff. So getting onto the teaching, which was the question you asked me, was doing this full circle of when I started employing new graduates. I really enjoyed the process of training them. So I had a 3-month training process set up for every new podiatrist that started with me, that I could take them from a new graduate within 3 months, turning over the exact same amount as someone that had been with me for about 8 or 10 years.
Wow.
Just had this step-by-step process that I used to run through, and I did it time after time after time. Now, did it work with every person? No, probably about like the 80-20 rule, the Pareto principle. 80% just excelled doing that, and about 20% within about the first 2 months, I just knew straight away it wasn't going to work out. And when I thought back, it came back to our belief and values were different. So, and that's why that's why I talk about it in the first week of the 12-week reboot, is because that whole beliefs and values is so important with everybody. That, look, if you have a receptionist that doesn't believe in podiatry, that thinks podiatry, can you imagine, some people will bag chiropractors saying, oh, they're just neck crackers and they're not really doctors, and they put people in wheelchairs. Now, if you employed a receptionist at the front who believed that, and you were a chiropractor, do you think it would affect how she books people in?
Certainly.
And the same thing works in podiatry. It works in all the people that you're working with. If they do not believe in what you do as a podiatrist, or believe in where you want to take the business and want to be part of that story, that affects their behavior each day, and it affects the outcome of the business. So I just love teaching this stuff. It's like I've done the full circle, and I've gone back to what it is I wanted to do. I wanted to teach people, and I get a buzz. I've had podiatrists that used to work for me who I took through the training program, worked with me for a couple of years. I helped set up in their own practice, and they're probably making twice as much money than what I ever made. But they put the work in. But knowing how successful they've been puts a big smile on my face. It makes you feel really good.
It sounds like you like helping people too. That's part of it as well.
Yeah, I jokingly said to someone once, and I have it in one of my bios, they said, I won't find the cure for cancer. I already know that. But one day I hope I inspire someone who inspires somebody who eventually does find the cure for cancer. And when they go back through how this came about, this whole inspiration, I'm one small cog. So could be somebody listening to this now who either you or I say one thing that just makes them go, oh, yeah. All of a sudden they do so well in their business, they're able to send their children to a better school. And when they send that child to a better school, somebody says something at that school that inspires them, and they could be the person that goes on and finds a cure for cancer. But it's this, and that's why I do the podcast. I get on, do interview things on video. It's just, you have to put yourself out there. If you've got something to say, There's people there who are willing to listen. And there will be also people you're going to be aware of that are trolls that are going to bag you, going to say, yeah, you put your head up, they want to chop it off. You just got to, that's, that's the negative of putting
Yeah.
yourself out there sometimes.
Has that's probably happened doing the different you have two different podcasts in the book, and there were probably, you have critics no matter what you do.
Yeah. I've had the podcast itself. I haven't really had any negative reviews on the podcast. So anyone listening to this, if you've really enjoyed the Podiatry Legends podcast, go on there and do a review on iTunes. It would be awesome. I was talking to Mark Mason, who wrote the book, The Subtle Art of Not Giving an F. So I was chatting to him and I said, I want to get you on. So on the podcast, once a month, I have someone who's a legend who's not a podiatrist.
Okay.
Yeah. So he said he'll come on, but I have to get to 100 reviews. He said, I'll come on your podcast if you can get to 100 reviews. Because to him, that's just proof that there's people listening to the show.
I'll give a review.
So I thought that was funny. So I'm gonna hold him to it. But yeah, what was the question? I lost track of. Oh yeah, just the negative thing. My book, I'll have one person that'll write a 5-star review and say, oh, the book changed the way I thought about things. And I've had other people give it a 1-star review and say, worst book I've ever read. Everyone should know this stuff by the time they're 21. And the funny part is you can guarantee whoever gives you a negative review or says something bad about you online, they never use their real name, which is usually to me an indication they're just trolls. They're gutless. Like, I think if you want to say something negative, just put your name attached to it. So at least that way you can have some banter and go, oh, like say you wrote it. Go, oh, Donald, what was it about the book that didn't appeal to you? So when I write the next one, can I make it better? But just say the book's a pile of rubbish, is crap. I wouldn't recommend it. I don't think that serves anybody.
Yeah. I know you have a principle in there, the orthotic principle, right? Of like everything, valuing things as the orthotic. I thought it was kind of unique, a unique paradigm.
The whole idea of it was when people are thinking about buying something or thinking about, say, going to a conference, they go, oh, I should have go to this conference. If I go, it's going to cost me $1,000 to go. Yeah, I'll miss a day and a half of work. So say it was going to cost $5,000. And say, for example, orthotic is worth $500 to get it made. Now, I'm sure a lot of people it's more. So that's 10 orthotics to go to the
conference.
To go to the conference. So you just use the orthotic as like a measuring stick. That if you do go to that conference and what you learn there and the people you meet, when you bring that knowledge back to your clinic, will you make more than 10 orthotics? And if you will, then it's a no-brainer. You should actually go to it. So with the reboot, it's $1,499 Australian to do the reboot over 12 weeks. And I've had some people say to me, oh, yeah, I don't know if I can afford $1,499. I'm going, if you cannot afford $1,499, that's an indication you 100% must do the program. Because it's $100 a week or so. And if it's American dollars, it's even cheaper. And the UK pound, it's almost like half the price.
Yeah.
And I think if you can't find that money, then there is problems with your business that need to be addressed. But I've had everyone from someone who's just graduated do the program through to people who've been out for 30 years do the program. And the feedback from every single person that's done it has just went, this has just opened my eyes up to so many different areas of my business that I thought I knew about.
Yeah.
But I didn't. And it's also the banter amongst the group, which is fun as well.
Do you have a new group starting every 12 weeks? Is that how it goes?
Yeah. So the goal is to do 4 groups a year. So I only started it last year. So I did 3 groups last year. And the next group kicks off on the 13th of January in 2021. Yeah, which is only a week or so away. And if people miss that one, then it'll go I've sort of got it planned that they run and they finish just before each school holiday in Australia.
Okay.
So it's like 12 weeks and then it's a couple of week break and then it's the next 12 weeks. So the plan is to do 4 this year, but I may do 3. It just depends. The way I work now is this is all based around what I want to do.
How wonderful.
So yeah, so if I do 3 groups this year and it gets to say September leading into December, and I go, you know what, I've had a really busy year. but because one of those 3-month periods or 12 weeks, I do want to have a break because I want to write my next book. So, and it's one of those things you just really need to focus to do
Yeah,
it properly. So, and the 12-week program, it sounds sorry, but it takes a lot out of me when I'm doing it.
I bet.
And even though I've written the program and it's something that, okay, you're repeating it, but I'm always refining it. So it mentally takes a lot out of me. And I also want to make sure that I'm available for the people that are doing it. They've got questions.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it's fun.
Now, I'm really interested, as you probably are, in habit change. In your opinion, because you're much more advanced in this coaching and I don't know, or the 12-week program, how do you find habit changes in the mind of a podiatrist or in the mind of anyone, not just a podiatrist? Is it hard to make change? Does change take longer than 12 weeks? Is it something that you plant the seeds? Because I'm still
Yeah.
reaping benefits like years later of different types of coaching programs I've done.
Yeah. I think things don't change overnight, but it all starts with that first step. And they always say, everyone would have heard that saying, how do you eat an elephant? One bite at a time. So if you want to make a change to your health, for example, you're not going to just wake up the next morning. So what I do every January, I do dry January. So I do not drink in January.
Okay.
And it's something I started a couple of years ago and this year, because of the pandemic, my liver is just going, yes, Tyson, you definitely maybe you need to do dry February as well. I read somewhere and it said that with the whole COVID-19 thing, people that used to drink monthly and now drink weekly, people that drink weekly now drink daily, and people that used to drink daily now start at 11. So, but I think it's one of those things, even if it's your health and you go, oh, I need to lose 10 kilos or 20 pounds or whatever it is.
Mm-hmm.
You don't wake up the next morning and go, because you made that decision, it's gone. First it's make the decision. And then it's, when do you want to lose it by? And then so to me, I think creating habits is also very linked in with setting goals, because it's something you've got to do it on a daily basis. I think you've got to be striving towards something to make that habit worthwhile. So what's the point on going exercising every day if you're just exercising every day? There's usually got to be you're training for a 5K run,
Mm-hmm.
or
Some type of a
you
goal,
want to
right?
fit. Yeah, you've got a favorite T-shirt that you want to fit back into, or you want to keep up with your 12-year-old, your 12-year-old son running around. There's usually some goal attached to the habits that you want to do.
Mm-hmm.
But I think it starts small and do it daily, regardless of what it is. So writing a book, you have to write daily to get the book done. You can't, I'll write on Wednesdays. That 6-day break is so easy for something to come up on Wednesday and destroy it. But if you're doing it every day, even if it's just for 20 minutes or half an hour, you start to create that habit. So even when I finish writing the book, I still wake up at 4:30 in the morning for the next 3 years.
Really?
Yeah. And that's when I said to you before, even though it was 5:30 in the AM that I got up now, my brain starts waking up around 4:30 because I just got into that habit of waking up to write the book. So sometimes once you create a habit, that it's a good habit as well, it's hard to break it. So that's why some people, they're addicted to exercise. No, they've just created a habit.
Yeah.
Yeah,
It's easier.
they'll go to a podiatry conference and there's this group of people that always get together and be going for a run at the beginning of the day. And some people go, oh, they're just crazy because they're all hungover from the night before. But the other people have got a habit of, we like to get really drunk at conferences.
Yeah.
That's their habit.
Mm-hmm.
So
We're all just a
but
combination of habits.
Yeah. So to me, it's just to get to create a habit. It's just doing something every day. And I also think it's got to be slightly enjoyable. So exercise, for a lot of people, the thought of exercise is not fun, but this should be something that every exercise has a fun component to it.
Mm-hmm.
But think of the fun. I always find it doesn't matter how much exercise you do, when you finish, geez, it feels good.
It does. It does. I think the habits are key, especially when you're starting out. I think making good habits in practice is really good habits in life in general. I think we're just a combination of those.
Continuing education. There's podiatrists I know that graduated, avoided going to conferences. I never saw them read anything. And 10 years later, they were no different to what they were when they graduated. You know, they'd just flown under the radar. No, he's picked up that they hadn't actually really done any continuing education, may have read the odd journal. But then there's other people who just, they go to conferences and they have a habit of reading journal articles each
Yeah.
day. And and the goal is, they may not even realize it, but they just want to be a better podiatrist.
Yeah.
So I look back to it, 30 years, I was better. So when I looked at 20 years, I could look back at when I was being out for 10 years and went, geez, I'm so much better than what I was at 10 years.
Mm-hmm.
But at 21 years, I was better than I was at 20. At 25 years, I was better at 24.
We're always
So to me,
improving.
yeah, it's just this constant path of self-improvement. And I reckon when people lose that, that's when it's time to get it. And that's why I actually sold my practice in 2016 and just moved more into the business and helping other podiatrists, because that the passion behind the learning more for my patients, I sort of just lost it. And it wasn't that I didn't care about the patients, but I got to a certain point where I don't feel I can offer anymore. I've had a really good run. It was time to just make that transition and move more into the teaching side of things.
Mm-hmm. And it sounds like you got the passion back.
Oh, what's funny is, even though I talk business, with some of the groups that I have conversations with, or some of the one-on-one coaching that I do, we do talk clinical stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And someone will say, geez, you know your shit, don't you? And I go, oh yeah, I do. I haven't forgotten it. I just haven't done it for a couple of years. I said, but I did actually know what I was doing. I wasn't just a business person. I was actually a podiatrist as well.
Yeah. Well, great. I think we covered a lot of things. And under the notes here, Tyson, I'm going to put the link to your reboot,
Yes.
your book, and in your 2 podcasts, in any kind of parting words with those that are listening today that you'd like to, mostly this is going to be for younger podiatrists, any other parting words of encouragement, resources, suggestions that you have for them?
I think the main thing is find what you love doing in podiatry. Now, some people say, I love every aspect of podiatry. I think that's great if you love every single aspect of it, but there will be certain parts of it you enjoy more. And I think the earlier you find what you enjoy doing and the more focus you can put on that and get better at that, the longer and happier career you're going to have. And I think if you're working for somebody else, is talk to your employer and tell them what you love doing.
Mm-hmm.
Tell them what you enjoy doing. And like, I know some people who love general foot care. They don't like orthotics. They don't like biomechanics. They don't like sports. They love general foot care. And when you're talking about it, they are so passionate about it. And I know those people are like gold in certain practices. So I think if that's what you really love doing, let them know that that's what you love doing. And maybe sports and biomechanics, there might be somebody else in the practice that loves doing that. And then you can both be happy. And the employer is going to be much happier when they've got 2 people working with them that are extremely happy. So parting words are just find what you love doing, do more of that. And if you actually have your own practice eventually, the stuff you don't like doing, you don't have to do it. Don't feel bad about it. Just slowly transition away from it, or employ somebody else who really likes doing that. So that's my advice.
That's great. Thank you so much. This is Tyson Franklin, podiatrist extraordinaire and coach now. Thank you so much for your time.
No, Donald, thank you for, like I said, for inviting me, even though I welcomed you on your own show at the beginning. This has been fun. I've really, really enjoyed it. Thank you.
You're welcome.